can start, Hans, and then you can go afterwards. So, hi everyone. It's great to see you here, even during such weird circumstances. I understand that everyone here is going through this collective phase of Zoom fatigue, exhaustion of Zoom. Not sure about you, but we are trying to stay connected as much as we can as Fab9. Not only with our members, but anyone who is part of our community in any capacity. So we've been trying to run these events once a month, and we've set up the Discord channel as well. I've just dropped a link here. Feel free to join. We've been using that to communicate, just, I don't know, share some nice links, tell interesting stories, and keep everyone posted about what we've been doing at the Makerspace. For you that might not be familiar with, Hans and I, we're part of Fab9, and we're a Makerspace in Footscray at the old London Planet Beauty, the Dream Factory. And unfortunately, we've been closed since March due to current lockdown circumstances. And we used to run these events once a month since last year. And it was really a way to open up a space for makers, creators, designers to show whatever they've been working on. We've had chocolate makers, motorbike designers, IoT developers, you call it. And that's really just a way to keep the community engaged and on a personal level to see what cool things people have been working on. As for today, we're gonna have Adam from Insight Infrastructure and Saumya, which is a architect slash designer that work on a open source design library. If anyone has any questions, just feel free to use the chat and just ask anything you want to ask, and then we'll redirect the questions to our keynote speakers. And the format is quite straightforward. It's two fireside chats, and me and Saumya first, and then Hans and Adam afterwards. 15, 20 minutes, and then afterwards you can just jump into questions and keep the conversation going. I'd like to introduce Saumya. She's our first keynote speaker.
Yeah.
Actually,
Hi.
if you want to introduce yourself, Saumya, I think that would be better.
Sure. I was just about to do that. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Hans and Leonardo, for having me. I'm Saumya. I'm an architect, and I've been in Melbourne for about a year and a half. I'm here for my master's, and the city has been nothing but welcoming, and I've had a great time so far. Looking forward to the chat tonight. I hope you guys take something valuable back with you.
Thanks, Saumya. So just a little bit about yourself. Can you just tell what's your relationship with design? Because I know that you're an architect by trade, right? But I've been checking your open source designs as well. And that has a lot of furniture design, a lot of conceptual designs as well. There is a lot of digital fabrication as well. So could you just tell a little bit about your relationship with design and what you've been working on?
Sure. I mean, if you guys, if anybody is an architect in the room, you guys must have seen the amount of the environment of digital fabrication that has come into our work. I mean, like ranging from parametrics to just everyone's going, really pushing the edge of their design capabilities with digital fabrication. But for me, design is mostly like, I'm not obsessed with any medium of design as of yet. For me, it's mostly a lens or a tool. I mean, it's pretty, and a really underrated tool, let's say, that most people, it's beyond aesthetic. And I'm hoping with my work, I can just keep proving that further. Like the kind of work we do, like my program here, we're just constantly speculating on the futures of everyday systems and sort of trying to redesign that and, keeping. Sorry.
I'm just sharing my screen so everyone can see what you've been working on as well.
So that's about me. But the open source library is actually a part of Archive. I just want to update you guys on what Archive is. Just like how we've gathered here today, Archive is a community of like-minded designers, creators, and innovators. It was founded. It was initiated by a group of my friends back in India. Like all of us were a little worn down by the whole the monotonous lifestyles of architects, and we just felt like our work was we had more potential, and so we wanted to collaborate and keep learning and keep pushing our abilities. So yeah, so we're really open to collaborating with anybody who has any interest in creating something. So the fourth dimension, the way archive works is we've gone about creating multiple research categories, and then we sort of, after we've done a collective amount of research, we sort of open it out to a pool of designers, bring them in and create something together. So the fourth dimension is just one such exercise, which we focused on fabrication. It is the way it began was, it was just, we looked at how 2D planar geometries actually form 3D objects. And so for us, the fourth dimension mainly came from four mechanisms, which was basically interlocking, stacking, bending, and folding. So using these four mechanisms, we went about creating all the products that you see on the library. The main objective, however, of our library was to encourage people to use more locally available materials. So even if you see all the products that we have on the library, we try to, the whole one sheet aspect. So we try to encourage people to, by showcasing these designs, and how can you more efficient, how can you use these materials more efficiently. And yeah, and it's about, again, bringing about the DIY culture. It's just about pushing people to sort of start building on ideas. So everything that we put in the library is only an example of what could be done, and we want people to now start taking this and sort of building their own renditions out of these products. Yeah, so that's about the library. But what we're looking at now is to broaden this sort of this whole platform that we have, and we really want to open it out to more designers. So as of now, we've been collaborating with people we know in our network. So like, I'm studying in Australia, a few of our friends are based in the US, and that's how we brought everybody together. And for this particular library, we've got people who were working with interlogs, or anybody with any interest in fabrication together. So yeah, that's how we came to the fourth dimension, and it's open for everybody to access. But we're looking at growing this, and we're planning to do a version 2 of it, where we want to include more designers and push this whole habit of collaboration. And what worked very effectively for us was the whole COVID lockdown situation. So because we all were we were all locked down in our houses, and we wanted to do something. So we just met. These products were all developed over a period of 4 weeks, and we just met online once every week, and we would just discuss. Like, each one of us decided to do a product by ourselves, and we would just give like active feedback over 1.5 hour worth of sessions. And like, over the course of the second and third week, we just sort of developed on that feedback, and by week 4 we actually had tangible products ready. So that was the whole value of this exercise, that just we understood that collaboration could be done all across. And I think that's been the biggest learning through COVID. Like, people have been like, even in terms of our university, we've all kept going, and it's just, you really realize this whole aspect of collaboration through these digital mediums, and that it actually comes up to some tangible results. So that was quite a takeaway for us.
Mhm. That's fascinating. Thanks for sharing, Soumya. There's so much to unpack there. I definitely want to get back to the mechanisms that you've mentioned, like interlocking and stacking. But maybe before that, I'm quite curious to understand what's your take on open source designs, because I don't have a design background, right? And I've always been full on pro open source, a bit of a pirate. And when it comes to designers, I do understand that the design at the end of the process, it's really the outcome of a very creative process of research and development. So I do understand that there's a lot of interest on the part of most designers on protecting their intellectual property. But you kind of went the other way around, and you just put everything up. I could just go to Fab 9 next week, not next week, but as soon as we are reopening, I could just go there and get your designs and make a table for myself, and you wouldn't get a cent out of that, right? So what's your take on this open sourceness?
I think it stems from the fact that all of us are relatively young designers starting off. So for us, I mean, like I said, it's really about the interest that we have in putting our work out there and creating something. So for us, it's quite often more about the process of creating something. Like, and we don't, and these are products that like we worked for a very brief period, wasn't too long. So, and more than just designers, we really want to encourage people to make things and sort of stray away from that whole mentality of dependency. So, like, I think the first time I spoke to you, you spoke about trying the pop-up table. So, something that's simple, so we really want to encourage people to start building things on their own. And you don't necessarily need to have a design background to do that. Like, with a little encouragement, everyone has their own sort of capacity of creativity that we bring to the table. And like I said, we'd really like to see people build on these, and we're hoping to see outcomes very soon where people could share results of anybody who's tried any of our products.
Yeah, that's really refreshing to hear, because it definitely resonates with our ethos back at Fab9, trying to create this kind of collective intelligence that is slightly bigger than the sum of its parts. And we do think that a level of open sourceness can definitely act in the interest of the beginners that are trying to start something.
Yeah.
That there's definitely a sweet spot there, right? Because one has to pay for bills. So what do you think is the sweet spot in between open sourceness and being effectively paid for your work? As a young designer, I assume that at some point you'd love to make a living out of that, probably. So where do you think is the sweet spot between being open enough so you encourage other people, but you still have enough resources to keep up with your work?
Yeah, so we've been thinking about that, and with archive especially, we're looking at like more similar to like membership subscription sort of system where we don't want to charge too much, but like a minimum, fee that could just help keep things regulating. And also the way we're looking at it is because we are, again, this is not me just handling archive or just one person behind it.
Yeah.
The reason we are seeking collaboration actively is also because it's helping us build our networks, and it's helping people do. This is just something people are doing in addition to what they already do. So it's also like the open source aspect helps us keep learning, keep building on our existing knowledge about certain things. But yeah, like subscriptions is sort of what I think would is the kind of thing that maybe would work for us eventually.
That sounds great. If you ever launch a subscription service, just let us know. We're happy to vouch for it.
We
So
were
that was
really
very
happy to
cool.
do
Yeah.
that. Sure.
So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insights around open sourceness, and that's quite fascinating. But just maybe coming back a little bit about the design process and the use of digital fabrication. You've mentioned
Yeah.
that you try to focus, at least at Archive, which is from fourth dimension, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yep.
You've mentioned that with this project, you've tried to focus with interlocking, stacking, a few other mechanisms. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So this is after like this is after a particular period of research that we decided to open up the fourth dimension to people. It's after we tried quite a few sort of joineries and systems within ourselves with a few projects that there was a lot of trial and error. But these were certain mechanisms that we found that sort of replaced the whole tool, the entire aspect of using tools and being dependent on screws and stuff like that, so which were effective in holding forms together. So from whatever we worked on, this was our sort of inclusion out of it, which we thought basically fit enough to when we're putting our designs out there, we want them to work. So these sort of seem like four strong concepts that had proven results that would keep an object working.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Any kind of projects you'd like to share or talk
Yeah,
about?
sure. So
Yeah.
I've just got a couple of projects that are not up on the library yet, but I think they're pretty cool. I'd like to give you guys a preview of those.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Can you share your screen,
sure.
or
Just do that.
not sure if you need admin rights for that? Awesome. Thanks for
Uh,
that.
yeah, so one of the guys just came up with this design, which is basically a folding side table that turns into a laptop
Mhm.
thing. But I'll just show you a video. Let me know if that's streaming. All right. It's, sorry, were you able to see that?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Not sure if anyone
yeah.
wants to drop a comment here and let us know if
Yeah.
the
So
stream is
this
working
one was
okay.
again, yeah, if you need me to replay it, I could just send in the video. So this was just another example of something that was created out of cardboard. And there was recently this competition run by Samsung where they were sort of encouraging designers to use
Mhm.
cardboard to create everyday products. So I think this guy sort of entered for that. And there was just a small one again, which I think was pretty cute, was not too much work. Just a second. Let's see that. Yeah. So this one's called Blinkers, and yeah,
That's awesome. That's really
yes.
clever. Yeah.
So that one's just used for now that all of us are spending so much time on Zoom.
Hmm.
So yeah, I found that pretty interesting myself. So these are some of the new products that we're working on. Uh, so we're just really looking out for more people who would be interested in coming and sharing their designs with us. So this is also me just like putting out the word that anybody who's interested, we would really love to have you guys on board. And I will just share the link of archive and also put in my email address. If anybody feels like reaching out, please do that.
That's awesome, Saumya. Thank you so much for the preview. That was really cool. I'm really
Yeah.
keen to work because we have some spare cardboard bracket cabinets. I'm really keen to work on the laptop stand.
Yeah.
If anyone is looking forward to reach out to you, where they can find you, Saumya?
LinkedIn would be good, and otherwise I can just drop in my email address in the chat if anybody. Like
Awesome.
I'm available on my email all the time.
That's awesome. I might just
Yeah.
drop your LinkedIn profile here if that's
Sure,
okay.
please.
If anyone's interested in reach out to Saumya, if anyone's curious about Archive, the open source library, Fourth Dimension, and any other projects Saumya's been working on, because I think she's been working on a lot of different things, just
Yeah.
reach out to her or reach out to me or Hans. We will definitely get you guys in touch with each other. And I think that's our time. Saumya,
Okay.
thank you
All right.
so much for joining us. That was awesome. I hope you
No,
had as much fun as I had.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I hope people don't get bored.
No, that was awesome. And if anyone is curious about what Saumya has been working on, just reach out to her with the LinkedIn link. And now we can just jump to Hans and Adam. Once again, thanks, Saumya.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. So I think that's quite interesting actually. Open source is definitely really big in engineering. For people in the audience, I think maybe it's worth mentioning. So Adam, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Hans, how are you? Thanks for inviting
Good.
me to the chat.
So since we talk about open source, could you talk about open source maybe a little bit from the software point of view and then from the hardware point of view?
Yeah, sure. Actually, our system is actually using open source.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's built on RDUSUP, and we're pretty much using Pixel and Raspberry Pi 3 as to control the robot. So it's pretty similar to AirDrone as our first prototype. And
Okay.
yeah.
So before we jump in, can you tell us a little bit about your, I guess yourself? Where did you study, and how did you come up with this idea with a robot?
Sure. Okay, so I'm Adam. I'm actually from Sichuan, China, and I came to Melbourne around 6 years ago. So I did my bachelor study at Melbourne University and finished my master here as well. So spent 5 years in Melbourne Uni, and finally managed to graduate from, I think, start of last year. So which is
What did you study?
super good. Actually, my bachelor degree is civil and environmental engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So in my master degree, it's a bit of like quite mixed with the environmental engineering, and also I did some sort of subject in the mechatronics as well, because I'm trying to figure out the thing in different areas, trying to learn most. But it's quite a bit of mix.
And did you enjoy the campus life, the good old student life? How was that for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. To be honest, I miss student life so much. Doing startup is not easy, and just look back when we're learning, we don't have as much pressure as now. But I mean, when I was studying, I was thinking, oh, why not, like working, because working life will be so good. So I guess never satisfied.
Yeah, and were you involved with any student organizations? I don't know, IEEE, anything like that?
Actually, back then in my master degree, I was the Endeavor Engineering Ambassadors, one of them. So pretty much what we did was to organize exhibition for all the engineering project, and just to organize it, and it's more like capstone subject for every engineering student, and they just show their project to the public, and that was good experience. And also I was the committee of like vice president of Environmental Engineering Society.
Okay, so for the audience who don't know that much about environmental engineering, can you just talk a little bit more about that? What is environmental engineering? Again, this is really basic.
Sure. So generally in big words, it's about engineering, solving the problem in terms of air, water, soil, and I feel like it's like interdisciplinary subject. Could be involving like chemistry and physics, and also like lots of biology. So I feel like it's not nowadays. There's no clear definition of like in single engineering, because I do believe like it's all interdisciplinary approach to tackle the problem in industry. So that's why I'll talk about my hardware dream later.
Yeah, and how did you pick this particular focus for your postgrad?
Yeah, so actually it was because of one opportunity by my professor. So he's actually in the structural engineering, like head of structural engineering, and he's working with Port of Melbourne in terms of maritime research and in terms of structural research. So I was having the privilege to work with them in terms of proposing the solution to Port of Melbourne challenge, because what they were doing is to hire divers to inspect the piers and jetties. But when they hire the people, underneath the piers, the whole operation of the port needs to be stopped because of the, security concern. So that's why, like for us, I mean, it's 21st century, so we want to develop a solution which is robotic, provide more cost-effective and more efficient method for the client, but as an owner to, and also minimize the risk for sending people there.
Okay, so Port of Melbourne, again, for the audience who don't know Port of Melbourne, can you talk about it? Just what is it? How important it is to the economy of Victoria or in Australia?
Well, it's huge. I mean, port generally, in like lots of stuffs import from overseas has to go through port, and as for the infrastructure there is very like essential for the whole operation. So that's why the structural integrity is one of the biggest focus for the port authority. And also, I mean, that's because that's related to the safety of like operation of the companies there, and also all kind of transportation. And so that's why they've actually they put huge I would say, importance in terms of asset inspection back then. And so that's why we're thinking of like providing a better solution to do the inspection. So actually, back then I was lucky as well. I met another co-founder, Chloe, in the class at our professor. So her family is actually looking for investment opportunity. So that's why we secured some funding back then. And
When you were still in school?
yeah, so like in
Oh,
my
wow.
master degree, yeah.
Okay, that's great. It's again, Bernardo and I, we've been doing this for a few months. Actually, we've been doing this for probably over a year. But it's some sessions are informal. We're now a little bit more organized. And one of the things that really fascinates me is entrepreneurship, right? Because I decided to become an entrepreneur when I was working in Silicon Valley, and in school you got the idea. Well, you understand the problem statement really, really well, I guess, through the postgrad research and collaborating with your professor, and you see the opportunity there to basically do things safer, faster, better. Is that a fair statement?
Yep, pretty much. That's pretty fair.
Okay, cool. So can you tell us more about the robot? Because I think for the audience, I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand what is underwater robots, what is a ROV, right?
Yep,
Remotely
remotely
operate.
operated vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you tell us a little bit more about this? Just maybe at a really high level, maybe maybe 5-10 years ago, maybe it was not so advanced.
Yep.
What's new, right? What's now? What are some of the technologies that enables you to start this company now and not say 10 years ago?
Sure. So actually, RV stand for remotely operated vehicle, and it was originally has been extensively used in offshore industry. And as for like oil and gas industry people, they have to do the operation for the depth of 3,000 meters or 4,000 meters,
Mm-hmm.
whereas people can't really send out diver and to that to that water depth because it's pretty deep water. So essentially, like I think RV was originally more than 15 years ago. It's like back then the robot could be like 5 meters in height and also 4 meters in width. So that's pretty big robot because it was designed for that high pressure environment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that was how it was started. But I mean, with the time proceed, we do realize from the deep water to shallow water, there's some sort of shallow water task could be replaced by robot, because primarily lots of shallow water tasks has been done by divers. For example, underwater inspection, underwater testing on the structure or taking photos. So I think it's around 7 or 8 years ago, there's initiative that to you know to minimize the instrument and also make the size of robots smaller, which can be adapted to the shallow water environment and which is easily deployable in a shallow water. And so like the robotic solution has been a lot smaller and a lot cheaper, and also like more user friendly as well, because it used to be this kind of robot has to be going through a lot of compliance, and all the operator needs to be get trained before you can actually operate it. But for now, it's pretty easy because underwater robot has been open source since like 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years ago. So by using an open source library, whereas people can use the sort of controlling system similar to air drone, to which can be applied to the underwater drone. So that's the framework. But actually, we've been using the open source system for a while, but definitely there's sort of limitation in terms of open source, in terms of more advanced operation, because essentially what we want to achieve is not just using robot to taking photo or making footage, but really to do more operation in terms of in-water cleaning and like the in-water repair. So those are stuff currently has been done by human, but there's a gap in the market in terms of the like system control, because for the open source system is very limited in terms of control and also rotation and also like payload. So this is something we've been working on right now. But for the contract we've been doing, primarily we work with port and we work with engineering consultants like AECOM, SMAC. So what they do is that they using the data from the subcontractor. So previously they hired diver to get the footage, get the image, to make condition assessment, and then provide the reports to the asset owner. But for now, they're looking for more, like robotic and safer method. So that's why we work with 3 of them actually, in terms of providing the data by using our robot to them. So it's really to minimize the post-processing time for them, and also, like make it cost effective. And yeah, all we want to do is trying to minimize the risk and also improve the efficiency. And yeah, just for everyone, like improving what they've been doing previously.
Interesting. So for each job, right? Can you walk us through? Do you just drop the robot in, like just throw it in, like just like you still have to provide power? Is it self-powered, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we've got actually 2 prototypes. The first one we were doing actually at the end of 2018. We have built the robot based on the battery powered. So essentially, like battery power, which can provide the operational time for 2 hours. But we just realized it's fairly limited if we have to do longer operation. So that's why for the latest one, which you can show from my background, that's the tether powered, and so it's pretty much providing from 220 volt voltage to 240 power supply, and you just can't like working consistently. So sometimes when we do the operation, we would just using a generator, petrol generator for now, which isn't very environmental friendly, but we're trying to optimize.
Maybe
Yeah.
you can use a big a big battery or something.
Yeah. I've been thinking of the alternative option, but sometimes if we operate at Marina, because they've got a power station there, so it's easy for us just to plug in and do the work. Yep, and yeah, also because we've been doing lots of one of the other focus is to focus on doing in-water cleaning by using our robot. So for the last couple of months, we just do lots of work with Marina manager, but it's still undergoing the trial stage, because for now we combine with cavitation in-water cleaning technology. Essentially, it's the mechanism that like by creating this kind of pressure difference, that the kind of the lens that we are shooting out, that is just making bubble, and when the bubble contact the surface, creates very high pressure environment. So by doing that, we're trying to replace high pressure water jetting, which has been conventionally used by divers. So like it has been, I would say, applied pretty well by using our ROV, because we did a few trial with on the boat, so just to clean the boat hull, shape hull.
So you're saying bubble from your machine, for your robot?
Yep. So it's actually another like cavitation cleaning equipment. So essentially, we mount that on our robot. But for the next prototype, we're thinking of how to integrate them together as a like together whole body, rather than just something additional mount on that.
That's fantastic. So I guess this is quite interesting topic. I guess B2B robotics, port, lots of money.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, the port is what? It's a 50-year lease, something like that.
It's more like, because port they're normally like 80% they have a public tender. So they work with consultants, and they normally invite diving company to do the work. So it's not like we secure one contract, we can be there for 50 years, pretty much. Like monopolize the contract, but really it's more like how to stand out from our competitor, because it's fairly competitive industry as well.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I guess you don't have to pay your robot, right?
Yep, that's a good thing.
Okay. I think I'm sure the audience have questions. So, Bernardo, how am I doing with time?
Where's my? Here am I. I think you still have about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah. I think maybe
Not to
we.
rush.
Adam, can you talk to us more some about the challenges you faced since you kind of decided to start a company? Obviously, I think you met your co-founder in school.
Yep.
And you were able to secure some kind of early funding, which is all, to me, it sounds almost too easy. I'm sure that that's only the start, right? So, what can you walk us through some of the challenges you solved and some of the challenges that you're still facing today?
Well, challenges every day, especially
Yeah.
during COVID time. So, yeah, I guess that's part of the journey in a startup is that solving the problem, and you get sense of like you like satisfaction by solving those problems, and then you move on step by step. I guess one of the biggest challenge at early stage is to have a good team and also secure the funding, because without enough funding, we wouldn't be able to launch what we're doing right now. So I was pretty lucky back then, other than meeting our co-founder. So we've like under the introduction of another professor, we met a consultant, like maritime consultant from ACOM. So that's how we got some traction in terms of like proof from industry that they want to buy what we want to build. So it's not like we build the hardware just to for the sake of providing a solution to industry, but really to solve the problem in the industry.
Right.
And we do understand the problem pretty well. So that's why it gives me confidence, and I show that with sort of business plan and more detail to investors, so they give them confidence to invest in what we're doing right now.
Right. So basically, you kind of sell before you build, right?
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like there's lots of hardware startups. They build amazing product, but at the end of the day, they don't know who to sell to, and they don't know like is there a genuine demand there as from the
Yeah.
client, and they're trying to find client. And,
Yeah.
yep.
So yeah, I've definitely seen that. Technology looking for a problem to solve rather than starting with a problem statement, understanding the pain points of the customer,
Yeah.
and trying to assemble technology to solve a particular problem, and not the other way around, right? So a lot of the blockchain companies are basically technology trying to solve a problem, right?
Yeah.
So
So
that's
sorry.
early phase, the kind of formation, right? And
Yeah, and also not even mention lots of technical challenges there. Yeah, even I mean that's open source. We can ask people from the forum and who have experience with the Arduino subsystem, but we still because we're trying to customize everything based on open source system. So there's a lot of challenges about hardware, because uh, the the robot we want to build is bigger size with bigger payload, so we'll be able to interface more instruments on that. Yeah, but yeah, it's just a matter of the power supply and also the control, like whether that's compatible with the the open source system. So it was going through lots of testing, and even like there's a lots of error in terms of hardware. But yeah, but we've overcome that. For thanks to COVID, I mean for stage one, lots of time on R&D and do some technical development. Yeah, we just get through that there, but we don't. Yeah, we don't just. I feel like everyone must be quite frustrated by stage like lockdown number two, because that's a real disaster for many of us.
yeah, because I think you talk about this at the very beginning, is before people join the call. Really, lockdown, especially coronavirus, for pre-revenue startup is just really tough, because you
Yeah.
cannot show that you had a turnover reduction, right? Like zero, still zero.
Yeah, it's because we're pretty tricky position, as we're doing our first contract with our client. It hasn't been finished, so there's no. I mean, because of the restriction, is things are keep put on hold. So we have no clear proof that we have a drop in revenue, but because we
Yeah.
haven't got it yet. So I feel like it's hard for startups at this stage because yeah, they prioritize many of other company with showing traction than us.
Okay, so Kylie shared a link, so we can definitely check it out later. I think yeah, I'm not sure if that's applicable to your case, but I haven't seen it. So, but
Oh, thanks.
okay, so right now I think since sounds like you're doing a kind of proof of concept, right? You're doing you have a client. As soon as the lockdown restrictions are lifted, you can then go out to the Port of Melbourne, bring your robot with a prototype. What is your next milestone?
Sure. So for next milestone, because recently I've been talking to lots of VCs, including in Australia and also overseas, as in the maritime industry.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess we're really trying to tackle the problem in the industry rather than being just providing just to sell our solution. So it's really to, because right now we do understand what's the problem in the port in the scenario. Yeah, trying to like have another prototype, yeah, which is the specialized in that scenario. And yeah, but before that, I guess it's pretty hard to, because like for our runway, uh, we we can still last for a couple of months, but still we want to make sure we build some traction before we can launch another prototype and have expand our team. Um, so, but really, our ambition, our goal is to having making impact generally, not just build robot and make it fancy, but really is to solving the problem and also making some positive impact. Because one of the things we want to develop in water cleaning is that we do want to transfer technology to vessel cleaning, because marine growth on a vessel that essentially consume fuel consumption, so whereas has lots of extra carbon output. So by do lot regular in water cleaning, it can really reduce the fuel consumption, so saving lots of carbon emission. And that's
So
kind
you're
of
talking about the build up underneath the boat, right?
yep. So the whole ship hull.
Yeah.
That's the bigger vision we're having right now. So what we're doing right now is pretty much building this kind of path road to what we want to achieve in the next step, as for like doing the inspection with port with those asset owner, and also some of the vessel owners. And yeah, but I guess it's tricky at this time to talk about a lot on like what we exactly what we want to do next year this time, because of lots of uncertainty. But um, it's I guess it's very important for us to know, still like keep our vision, still like make sure we're heading to the right direction without forgetting what we essentially want to achieve, but tailor what we're doing right now with a slight pivot to adapt to this crisis. That's what we're doing right now.
Great. Are there any things you want the audience to know in terms of how do people get in touch with you? What are some of the things that you want to let people know? Are you looking for investments? Are you looking for engineers? Are you trying to hire talents or looking for new customers?
Sure.
I guess
Can I share my website?
yeah, please.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah, just because I don't have a product here right next to me, but yeah, the website we're having future of underwater technology, pretty much the robot and in water cleaning, and also we've got another concept design, the crawler on the pile, but hasn't really worked on that yet. But yeah, that's the thing we're still validating from our client. And this is our team. So this is Elliot. He's a robotics engineer. So right now he's working on lots of computer vision thing, robotic vision. And this is Alex. He's part-time right now. He's the structural engineer at Baker. So he help us in terms of site work and trial. And actually, we're bringing 2 other members on board in terms of that, our partners. And yep, specialized RV inspection. Yeah, the first one is the smaller prototype. So what we're doing right now is to integrate the 2 laser point on the RV and do a bit of cylinder diameter diameter is estimation by using the computer vision. And yeah, we're still developing. We've done the edge detection on that, but yeah. So pretty much what we want to do is to, without using the caliper, but really just using robotic computer vision to estimate diameter. So to replace the work has been done by divers previously, which is a bit more efficient, I believe. Yeah, and
So that's like an inspection process, isn't it?
yep. Inspection.
What are they looking for? Like corrosion or?
So for now, depends on the type of structure they're looking at. For example, timber pile, because we all know, like at Central Piers, it's been locked down, and pretty much all the piers and jetties there, they're timber pile, and they haven't been properly inspected because of the standard that diver they contract different diving company to do the work, and they just like spend months, I think 2 months, just to inspect the whole area, and at the end, normally they send 3 divers in water, and just taking ruler and caliper to measure the diameter and all sort of thing, and taking a photo by underwater camera. But we can improve accelerate the process much faster by sending a robot there, and essentially providing the image, diameter, and also sort of another thing we want to do is the verticality in terms of the angle that the structure tilt. So it's all done by computer vision, and yeah, and also to save the data delivery, because essentially that's a problem in the industry. Lots of companies, they get the data from the inspector. It's all footage. They're just gonna watch hours and hours of footage to understand what's going on the structure. But for us, one of the mission is to like using the robotic vision to minimize the footage that we deliver, really to stitch the image from the top to the bottom and as a profile photo. And even for the next step is to make the pile inspection into 3D visualization. So as asset owner and also consultant, it's easier for them to do the assessment. That's the future of the asset management.
Yeah,
we are heading there right now.
like a digital twin.
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, digital twin in air, it's been pretty much quite developed, because the technology is pretty easy by using LiDAR or photogrammetry by air drone, because things are clear. But under the water, it's all sort of uncertain elements like dirt, current, and also if the water is turbulent, we pretty much can't see anything. So it's the matter of enhance the image quality, and the next step is to do the image stitching.
And do you only use vision, or do you use like one of other sonar or other type of sensors, sensor fusion?
Yeah, so we're thinking about other sensors, but one of our, I guess, value proposition is to minimize the instrumentation, because essentially lots of instrument has been used by offshore industry, which is huge and very expensive. So that's not quite viable for our application, not just because of price, but also the suitability. So we're aiming to provide very cost-effective method by using by just computer vision and also SLAM all together to provide very cost-effective method results to client. I guess that's our value for now. We're working on that.
Yeah, great. No, I think that's all. I think we'll probably open it up for people to ask questions. We're at 7 o'clock, so Bernardo, how are you doing with time?
We're on time. I think that's pretty much it. If you want to wrap with Adam, we can open up to questions. And if anyone's interested in keeping up the conversation going, we can always use the Discord channel as well.
All right. Let me just unmute. Did I just unmute? Oh, can I try this? Okay, all participants are muted.
So Adam, Scott here. What sort of depth can you operate at?
So as long as our tether can reach up to 500 meters, but for the tether it's only like 200 meters. And for our working environment, that's enough because primarily they are shallow water, maximum up to 15 meters. Yeah, but like sometimes we need to extend a bit, like horizontally. So like normally 100 meters should be enough for our tether.
And how do you use a positioning? How do you get your positioning of your ROV?
Yeah, that's a good question because that's the thing we've been working a lot on that. For now we are interfacing top camera, so top view camera, which we can see what's going on above the water. So because essentially we want to inspect the structure, surface and also the piles above the water. So we have a relative sense where are we at, but in the industry there's normally using like acoustic signal position tracking and also Doppler velocity log to estimate the trajectory by having acceleration in 3 axes. But unfortunately, those options are too expensive right now. So we're trying to using camera just to maximize the use of camera pretty much.
Yeah, because it's not like a drone where you can just rely on GPS, can you?
Yeah. So you know what? Actually, there's some company they showcase to port and by using drone, but it just when they underneath the piers, it just lost the GPS. And also because ports they've got lots of vessels, so because magnetic effect, pretty much you just like drag the drone, like to the side. So it's just being pretty much pretty hard for air drone to work under that kind of environment. So we working on that right now.
Good luck.
Thanks, Scott.
Would this sort of products unit be useful for, say, collecting plastic that's underwater, or for, say, helping with the Great Barrier Reef, like killing off crown of thorns infestations and that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like robotics, another major application is definitely helping environmental protection. And there's been robotics company, they develop the waste collection the robot, and by using Internet of Things to using computer vision to detect the garbage, the plastic. And even I guess the most famous one is cleanup project, ocean cleanup project. Yeah, they've been doing that a lot. And but unfortunately I feel like it's a matter of scale, because in terms of pollution, there's bigger scale pollution and smaller scale pollution. And for now, what robotics can do essentially, it's only useful in like collecting the waste in terms of plastic waste, which are visible one. But there's lots of oil spill and microplastic waste. Those are the ones that can't be solved by robot right now. So that's why I feel like there's still limitation in terms of robotics. But I do see the potential there. And for us, it's more like we're trying to focus on the inspection and like cleaning part. But that's something very interesting, for sure.
Yeah, I had a question for you. You know how at the start you started talking about how they were testing how hard or soft the wood in the pylons were, or the condition of the pylons with a water jet. I think, was it a water jet or was it an air jet? I didn't quite get it.
Oh, sorry, it is actually a water jet, but it's by cavitation. So
what were you doing something different to that? Are you using laser to test it or anything else, or?
laser to test the structure, or
Yeah.
we pretty much we have a laser pointer. It's more like for reference, distance reference. It's
Right.
pretty much used for dimension measurement rather than making the structure testing. Yeah. And for the water jetting, because cavitation cleaning is one of the water jetting, but different pressure mechanism. So essentially, that's pretty effective in water cleaning to remove the marine growth. For example, barnacle and very heavy ones, which can't be easily cleaned by the brush. And yeah, so that's very effective to remove marine growth without damaging the actual structural surface. And so that's why we choose to use that for now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, because the paints that they use are horrible. They leave a lot of chemicals in the water.
Yeah. Like anti-fouling paint. Yeah, sure. Because there's a very strict regulation in Victoria about clean things under the water, in terms of the especially the vessel, because there's a regulation about if the anti-fouling paint that's biocidal, we just can't be clean in the water, because essentially that's gonna release toxic material. So we're pretty conscious of that. And yeah, even I've got a bigger idea in the future, integrate capture device after cleaning to capture all the bio debris, and then send it to the treatment device onshore to treat the water and send it back to discharge to the seawater again. Essentially, that's what the industry standard for now, what we're working on. But yeah, that's the milestone for the 2 more steps ahead.
Milestone 5, maybe.
yeah.
Milestone 1 is get it to work. Milestone 2, get some customer letter of intent, and then raise some money, hire people.
Yeah, one of the things I learned from hardware is we can always plan there, but once we do the testing, there's always problems comes up. So never achieve what we want to do. Essentially, never. So that's the nature of hardware.
Yeah.
Great questions. Great questions. I think those are good insights. Any other questions for Adam before we?
Well, I have a quick question for both Adam and Saumya, really.
Anna, good to hear your voice.
I'll put my video back on. I turned it off because after drinking wine very enthusiastically, I got like a major case of the Asian flush. I may look like a lobster, but I'm fine. I'm feeling fine, so don't be worried about me. What I'm really inspired by both the speakers is this enormous kind of spirit of generosity in sharing your talent and doing these amazing things when you really have sort of a shared benefit that I can feel is driving you and motivating you. And that's a very special thing in this world, I feel like. And my background until recently is in government, and I cannot tell you how many meetings I had to sit through where decision makers and very senior people in government didn't quite understand these kind of journeys of technology development and entrepreneurship. And I just had to kind of like, bite my tongue and just kind of cringe, silently, because while this table, surrounded by decision makers were struggling, the world was getting way ahead of us. And I was tasked at one point of really thinking about the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Victoria and Australia. So as, two people who are actually doing the doing, if you could sort of tell those decision makers, whether they're a politician or very senior management, executive and so forth, like what are a couple of the things that you could tell them that really made this journey of entrepreneurship work for you? Like what made you not like give up given some of the uncertainty and the ups and downs? What continue to give you reason for this generosity and spirit that you have? Because I find those things really fascinating.
Yeah. Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah,
Sure,
please.
go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying because I come from a country where it's really difficult to explain people just the benefit of doing things. But I think what helped me was basically being surrounded by like-minded thinkers. It was just this common interest that all of us shared, and just that support from each other that, you know, it's okay if it doesn't have a direct or immediate benefit, but this is something we really believe in. And it's actually been it's been great because since we started collaborating, and you know, it's helped us in more ways than one. So I think it's just finding that right spot where, you know, you connect with the right people. I think that that's played an important role, at least in my project.
Yeah, agree with that. And for me, is I've been frustrated many times by many of the policymakers because the thing we're doing actually is there's lots of regulation, too many stakeholders there, and sometimes I feel like whether I should, you know, if that's a mistake, even putting so much effort to persuade everyone on what we're doing, but I feel like that's part of entrepreneur because I'm lucky I'm actually in a Melbourne accelerator program, and also previously I was in the velocity program, so being like talking to many of other startup founders, it's been on the same journey. I feel like it's more like what motivate me is not just the ambition and vision I want to essentially achieve, but also the collaboration and the shared value with many other founders, and we support each other. Doesn't matter which industry we're at, but really to as an entrepreneurship spirit to inspire each other on that, just to drive us keep on doing what we want to do. Instead of compromise on because of regulation we can't do that, but how can we start initiative to like trying to overcome those barriers, and also trying to make policymaker understand something we're making is making impact, not just for, you know, like the benefit of ourselves, but also making something big and benefit everyone at the end of the day. That's essentially what drives me doing right now.
Thank you. Really
I've got a question, Bernardo and Adam especially. I don't know if you said it, but do you have a video of your ROV in operation, either in a test pond, a test pool, or out in the river?
Yeah, sure. We do have. Yeah, because I can send you a link maybe later.
Okay.
Yeah, I was putting in our website, but that was the first prototype, and actually we've got a new one. So I'm still making the commercial shooting, but unfortunately we can't do any trial anymore on site. So it's a bit of keep on hold. I haven't finished that yet, but definitely I'll put one of our previous one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's a wrap. Do you have anything to add, Hans?
No, I think keep going. Entrepreneurship is hard. I can speak to that. If people want to have support, that's the reason I think we keep going, even though it's really challenging right now, especially for older brick and mortar businesses, hospitality, retail, cafes, schools, makerspace. I think it's a very challenging time, but at the same time, I think it is probably the best time to start a new business. There's lots of talents, looking for work, so it's easier to recruit talents, and also I think it's easier now to talk to investors, right? Because you don't have to fly to San Francisco or China. People will take a meeting on Zoom. So that, I think, that's been the biggest change. And also people are more, I think investors are currently more comfortable investing in global startups. It used to be that the say a VC in on Sand Hill Road wants to invest in only Silicon Valley companies, right? But now more and more people are investing outside those main clusters. So I think Australia still has a long way to go, though, as an overall environment.
Yeah, I feel like in a startup, we've been in the crisis mode from the day one.
Yeah.
So not much of a huge difference in terms of many aspects. So it's more like, I guess one of the biggest benefit of startup is we're always ready to pivot, to adapt to something new. Doesn't matter what kind of external factor there is. So we are pretty flexible and agile to changes compared with corporate. So I do see there's a huge benefit in a startup in that respect. But I guess the challenge would be like how to secure the cash flow and also how to be persistent to what we, like original vision. And that's a challenging part because of physical environment we're at right now. Yeah, but I do believe we can get through it, and like hero comes after the crisis. And yeah, I guess startups still got lots of opportunity to, especially during this time, I've been making lots of contact, like in the world, lots of virtual connection, and also talking to people in different countries, talking to VC, because it's the best time to reach, have wider reach to the people around the globe. And
Everyone's home, right?
yeah, exactly.
No one's vacationing.
People are generally more available than ever before.
Yeah, I find that too. I reach out to a lot of people all over the world, and people are quite willing and sympathetic towards early stage companies.
Yeah, I feel that as well. It's people generally more forgiving, like what we're doing, and in terms of the progress, because that's understandable for everyone. Same boat. Yeah.
And I think, again, if I can bring you back, I think this is interesting because I think policymakers have to understand that investment needs to be counter-cyclical to business cycles. So what I mean by that is people who invest during a downturn will actually grow faster when the economy recovers. And that has been true for technology companies in the last however many decades. So right now is really the time to invest. I think
from my humble opinion, government as an investor has a very different mindset to private investors, obviously. And especially in the Australian context, from what I have been exposed to, government spending of the public purse comes with a very high threshold of responsibility and public scrutiny. So policymakers are aware of the potential return of public purse investment, not only in monetary terms, but for the digital economy, for attracting global talent, for creating jobs. These are all things that we know, and there are evidence that base our advice to decision makers. But that comes against this very strongly held responsibility and public scrutiny about how we use taxpayers' money and how we justify and provide rationale for what government on behalf of everyone in society gained in return. So naturally you're going to have a more conservative approach from government as an investor, even though they have such a in some ways greater potential as an investor.
For the horizon, right? They can wait, right?
Yeah, so they don't have some of the quick sort of temporal pressures of releasing their funds, and exactly as you say, there is some strength in time. They have the ability to wait for return in a longer term sort of paradigm in some sense. For me, the COVID crisis really very loudly highlighted how Australia needs to up their tech game. I mean, the COVID tracing app, and
Yeah.
you know, so many
Yeah.
places still just use pen and paper to.
But Anna, I don't think it's just the tech game. I think it's the whole manufacturing game as well.
Manufacturing, yes, but I think manufacturing is so front of mind for decision makers in Australia because it directly links to job losses in very vulnerable communities. But I wonder whether tech is still seen as a little bit more abstract and distant to the everyday Australian experience. But I mean, we're in the year 2020, and I had to go through the hotel quarantine experience when I came back to Australia after visiting family in New Zealand. And when I checked out of the quarantine, literally they wrote down my name and my temperature on a piece of paper. And that sort of made me think, I mean, come on. Surely we can do better than this. It's just only one example, but that just really hit home to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can publish this video now, but
You have to erase my name.
we love the government.
Quote.
No, I think this forum has served as a grassroots discussion, and I really think that we can never wait for the enlightened politician to come along. It will never happen, right? All the movements in history started with two people. It's not one person, but it starts with a group of people, a small group of people, right? People who are passionate, people who understand give first mentality, people are willing to share their ideas, people are willing to give their time. I'm sure people on the call, many people are very experienced managers, for example, or have industry contacts, or know somebody who can help, right? So I think we have to do it together as a community. Community is really important for the support, also not just necessarily technical support, in terms of resources, right? So resources can be financial resources, can be human capital. It's also, I think, just sharing ideas and sharing insights to support. The encouragement, I think, is really important. The spirit is really important. So with that, I think we had a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you so much, Saumya.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
And we have Discord. If people want to hang out and have a beer, I'm still online. So this Discord is more informal.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just want to say thank you to Saumya and Adam as well. That was awesome. You guys rocked. And thank you so much for everyone who joined us. We'll keep this conversation going on Discord, and you've been here in Discord pretty much every day, every week or so. It's very informal, very casual, just sharing links and keeping up the good vibes. So
yeah, first Friday. So the next one is going to be Friday, the 2nd of October.
Let's see.
And the next one will be Friday, the 6th of November. First Friday. It's really easy. Don't have to remember dates. Just the first Friday of each month. Okay, and I'm Hans and Bernardo. If you have any comments for me or you want to get in touch with me, I think it's pretty easy. Let me just post my LinkedIn here as well, just in case.
Yeah. I'll drop the links here. So good.
Yeah. And we hope to see